Hello, Chester here. So it's another day with Esper Frog. Let's talk about the metagame challenge that's coming at the end of the month. I'll say it right now that this deck is not a good choice to pick up if you're only getting into the format. And even if you're a seasoned player, I think it's still not a good choice. And here's why. There's actually three reasons why. Number one is I suspect there will be more energy players in this one, and this deck struggles with that variant a lot. If it was Boros, then it would be a different story. And number two, the show and tell matchup is decent, but I won't say it's one sided. And the third one is there will be a lot of players playing at a similar level as you. Like some of my wins are through knowledge checks, which won't really work if you're on equal footing. Like I often look for sequencing mistakes and try to capitalize on that. But with higher level players, you usually won't find those mistakes. And if you do make those mistakes, it would be devastating. And I say the easy path to win in Timeless is to play something unfair, or maybe just play the best fair strategy, which is Mardu Energy, the Lurrus version. Korea Timeless has a video covering a lot of that, and I would recommend the Lurrus version since it has a lot of synergy with Cotonian Nightmare, and it requires opponents to bring in Graveyard Hate or fold to Lurrus. I know Flage and maybe Ob is strong, but I think Lurrus is still better. Even though if you get access to Gigantad when you're playing Flage and Ob, I think the synergy with Cotonian Nightmare is a really nice touch. Or the other fair strategy is this deck. This deck has an around even matchup with everything. We're usually on the unfavored side by just 5% or 10%, and it's all play draw dependent. You will win more games on the play, you will lose more on the draw. This slightly leans on having game against show and tell, since the only way they can beat you on game one is if they manage to find Veil of Summer and show and tell on turn four. But we do have some counterplay by having Thoughtseize and Inquisition and mana drain ourselves. And the unfair decks you can choose to play are decks like Show and Tell, Jet Storm, or Nightmare Medallion. Not really sure what that deck is called, but it's the mono black necro deck that's been popping up, or Shift and Tell, the alternative version of Show and Tell, which is more favored against this deck, but in exchange, it loses to the actual Show and Tell deck. At the end of the day, you should just pick a deck that you are most comfortable with. And for me, this is the deck that I'm most comfortable with. And I probably won't be changing this list up anytime soon. Maybe I'll try to fit in a Toxic Deluge in the main again, but I'm not sure if I'm cutting Frog for that. The cut is probably Nethergoyf, or even maybe one Drown in the Loch. This variant is a bit better than the blue black variant since we do have access to Swords to Plowshares, Prismatic Ending. We also have access to Lavinia. But I'm actually thinking about this and might decide to go for Meddling Mage instead. Because if you do lose a stack war against Show and Tell, the second ability on Lavinia doesn't really matter. Whereas if you have Meddling Mage named Show and Tell, they have to have exactly Abrupt Decay or Fatal Push to get rid of that. I think if the Mardu energy variant that gets popular is the Giganta version, it would probably be right to run more disruptor flutes. You can use this as a sort of counter spell for like Goblin Bombardment, Obnixilis, or even Flage. Naming Flage with this really sets them back since they would have to cast Flage with 7 mana to escape it. But yeah, that's what I think about the metagame challenge. So let's get on with the gameplay. Let's play first. Okay, this is a pretty good hand. We have Inquisition on one into Frog. Let's keep let's use the Bauble to inform our decision. Alright, we know that they are drawing into swords to plowshares. Then I guess the better play here is to play Tamiyo. Hope that they use the swords to plowshares on this one. Alright, pending. They're definitely playing something spicy here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and jam Psychic Frog anyway, even though they have Supreme Verdict. Alright, let's play Bauble first. See their next draw. Okay, that is pretty cool. I don't think that matters much though. So they can play the case, conjure Fibble Tip, and then tutor for it. Okay, let's draw a card. I think I am not supposed to play out the Nethergoyf because that means they are likely to play the verdict. Okay, that is fine. Make them shuffle. I think I'm supposed to look for something here. Alright, Thoughtseize solves the Supreme Verdict problem. I'm supposed to counter this. Alright, that's troubling. This is actually pretty cool since you don't need to actually have Fibble Tip. Hmm. Oh, okay. And then you can Flare of Denial it. Hmm. If I cast removal on here, 15, then think I'm off by one. 10, 13. Don't, I don't have to discard. Guess we start with Swords to Plowshares. Okay, there's a Swords. I guess it was my bad since I should have brainstormed first, I guess. Let's see if this resolves. Right. What the heck? What? What? This is very weird. Okay,
From laptop to J26.
that was a weird bug. Okay, so we're going first. This is a questionable keep, but we have Tamiyo on one into Brainstorm. I just have to trust that we can we can get under them this way. Looks like they might have Veil of Summer. Think I'm not going to play any of these next turn. Let's just Brainstorm. We are kind of locked anyway. Don't have to do anything yet. I think we just have to prevent Tamiyo from dying here. Thunder Trap. Yes, we can mana drain. So that they don't have access to flare. Okay. Let's Brainstorm. Seems like they don't have the flare. I think I'd rather Double Thoughtseize this turn. Get rid of the swords. I don't think I have to do anything. I kind of want the other mana drain. Okay, I think Spellsnare is great here, but I guess I can't sideboard. Yeah, I still can't bring the Spellsnares in. Let's use Mishra's Bauble on ourselves. We see Psychic Frog. We're just gonna play out the Nethergoyf. Then play out Psychic Frog on the next turn. I guess we can afford to wait. I don't want the frog to get spell snared or something. Now is the appropriate time to brainstorm. Let's fetch for white. Tamiyo's good. I think I just passed the turn here. Okay, let's just pass. Play out Nethergoyf. I think as long as Tamiyo's drawing us cards, it's fine. Don't think I fight over this one. Let's just get a black source here. Okay, that's a good one. I guess we just brainstorm here. I don't think I need the swords to plowshares. I do need the frog. So they're getting flare. They can Jace here, then flare. Okay. So I guess I just draw into the swords to plowshares. Let's play out the frog. It's actually fine. Hmm. I think we just get Inquisition here. Right to the top. We should use mana drain here and do that. Right. Nice. We are going first. No companions. Maybe this is a combo deck. I have Bauble and Fetch to fix my draw. I had Bauble and Fetch to fix my draw. Okay. We don't want another land. I don't know what the opponent is playing, so just do the aggro thing. Looks like they're gonna reanimate. I think I should just swing in. This play sucks against a Fury, then reanimate Fury. Let's get a white horse. I think I'm down to keeping a Brainstorm. That's fine. Now let's Brainstorm. Guess I don't want the Hallowed Fountain. And I think they're just dead. Okay, against Scam, we don't want these on the draw. We want hers. Non-creature spells with mana value. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana, let's try this one. Surgical. You want Spell Pierce, Demonic Tutor. You can trim down on mana drain or a prismatic ending, I guess. I think this is fine. Against Scam, you don't really want to mulligan hard, but this is actually a decent hand. I'm going Tamiyo, fetch for basic island. Threaten a turn 2 flip. You're getting a push. Okay, there's both. I think I just hold off for now. I don't want them having spent this extra mana on this turn. And might need to protect myself from a blood moon. No need to fetch here. Let's just pass. They still have the push in hand. We're going to fetch for a white source. They can Bowmasters here if they want. Now I can just throw this away. Fetch. Don't need the Brainstorm. Let's just play out the Nethergoyf. Spell Pierce can be discarded with Fog. We just mana drain this. Can Sanctuary back the mana drain. Nice. Don't know what opponent is playing, but we have discard spell. Maybe this is scam. I guess I'll do this my on my turn because they might have a Bowmaster here. Alright. Let's brainstorm first. I don't want the Mystic Sanctuary. And the Archive, I guess. Let's just discard a Brainstorm for now. I'm just gonna discard a Swords to Plowshares. Let's play Undercity Sewers here. Don't need a Delta. Okay, that is better. Alright, I think we do this. They are drawing a grief. Let's just do this. They're drawing Necro. So we're supposed to get mana drain here. Maybe I just start to clock them with Tamiyo. Like I can do this now. Get back mana drain. Now they're locked out of the game. They can have the besiege. Three. Let's check out what they got. So basically, mono black scam. You want disruptor flute, I guess. First, I can play spell pierce, demonic tutor, surgical extraction. Not sure about the discard spells. Probably Inquisition out. A couple of Bauble out. And a couple of mana drain out. I don't think pending comes in here. Okay. This is a good hand. Shouldered. Alright. Let's just play Brainstorm then. I don't want these two. Hmm. I guess I'm better off having the swamp. I don't think this helps me, but Bowmasters. Oh, we just died to shouldered. Now that we're on the play, let's bring in the Thoughtseize and Inquisition. Let's see. Yes, that's it. Hmm. Maybe the Tamiyo isn't that good. We have Dot Season 1. Okay, we just take the Necro since they can use a bunch of discard spells to get rid of my counters. They're probably just going for my threats here. Oh, they're not. I don't think I want Brainstorm. I feel like they have a Bowmaster. Let's just get a fetch, a resurvey land. Frog is good. Now we're just gonna get back drown in the lock, I guess. And I can attack with this. I think I go for lethal here. So I miscounted. Nice. And we're back. So if you decide to go for the mere tempo for the metagame challenge, you should probably be running the white splash. Since Swords to Plowshares is miles ahead, Fatal Push, and then you get to play Prismatic Ending, which doubles down as a removal spell for 1 drops or removal spell for Graveyard Hate like Unlicensed Hearse, or maybe Disruptor Flute if they decide to bring that in against you. And the Lavinia here, I'll be changing this to Meddling Mage. I think Meddling Mage is way better for stopping show and tell since it doesn't involve the stack, while Lavinia can be countered by a Veil. And even if this dies to a removal spell, it's still one more card that they need to find, which is nice. And it also stops show and tell even if they have landed a defense grid. As for the land base, I've honestly haven't tried to go deep into the math in building this. And so to avoid reinventing the wheel, I just went with what's accepted in similar modern lists. It's around 17 to 21 lands as far as recall for the Murktide lists. And they don't have access to Mystic Sanctuary. I know they run a couple of survey lands, so maybe this is a bit too greedy, but I think we're fine since we're also running Brainstorm and Mishra's Bauble. And I don't think I want to go down on 1-to-1 Mystic Sanctuary. It definitely feels correct to run at least 2 survey lands. So as you've noticed, I've already dropped the Sink into Stupor, and I would recommend dropping this for the Dimir list if you're going to stick with Dimir, and instead replace it with the second Undercity Sewers. And as for this land base, we have a total of 20 lands, and 16 of them come in untapped. So we're about 90% to hit our turn 1 land untapped. That's pretty important since we want to have a removal up or discard spell up or a threat up on turn 1. And even if you don't have those, you could choose to get survey lands instead. I'd like to think that this kind of list doesn't have a fixed like shell. Anyone can come up with the dimmer tempo list and build it differently depending on how they want to play it and what they like to play. So some people might prefer Shadow in this slot. Some people might not like Nethergoyf and play more interaction instead. And that is completely fine. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Oh, there is one. Not running Brainstorm is a wrong way to do this, I guess. So for me, what I have established is I want at least six universal answers to any deck in the format. So that is fulfilled by mana drain and drawn in the lock. And at least 4 to 6 ways to deal with creatures. So that role is fulfilled with swords to plowshares. You can run six if you can find the slots, and it's probably just prismatic ending or fatal push for the extra for the fifth to sixth removal spell. But you never want to go down less than four removal spells and in these types of decks. And here is a very controversial choice. The discard versus counterspell, conditional counterspell in the main. There's a lot of argument, even in modern, that they don't like the discard spells because it's bad against energy, that they prefer these instead. And that is completely fine if you want. My personal take on that is that you won't always know if you're on the play or on the draw. And these cards are more impactful when you know if you're on the play or on the draw. So I went with a more universal answer. Discard spells are universal. They give you information on what or how the opponent is going to sequence, while these do provide you a tempo advantage when you counter something bigger like a 2 mana spell or more. Generally, you do gain some tempo advantage when you discard a relevant spell in their hand because basing on what's on your hand, you can make decisions on how to make their hand clunky against your hand. And there's the rare cases where anything you discard really won't matter because their deck is pretty much the same with one another. For example, discard spells won't matter in a burn matchup since most of their deck will deal 3 damage to the dome. And I think a must have is Cling to Dust. You must always keep this in your 60. It's always relevant. So, like, for example, the mirror, you want to be able to get rid of Nethergoyfs. And there's also Reanimate in the format. You can use this to counter a Reanimate. People are also playing Cotonian Nightmare. So once they target the creature with the Cotonian Nightmare, you can counter that ability with Cling to Dust. So it's a tempo positive play that way. And that's for energy decks. You can counter a Flayed and then Cling to Dust. You can also counter a Shifting Woodland trigger or even a Mystic Sanctuary trigger on Show and Tell. It basically has use in all matchups. And Toxic Deluge is a card that you can bring in the main if you're really expecting energy, but do expect this to be dead against the non-creature decks like Show and Tell. And sometimes you can face Jeskai Control, which this is also dead. Now let's go to our threat base. So Tamiyo, this has actually felt weaker as of recent since everyone's running Bowmasters now, or everyone has access to prismatic ending. And I'm seriously considering changing this with another aggressive threat. But for now, I think being a planeswalker gives you another angle of attack that's hard to interact with. And it's still worth running this because of that. Nethergoyf is usually here to beat down our opponents. It gains value by being on the board. It makes things like Pride or Ragavan not a must answer threat since it walls it. So you basically just have Guide of Souls to target or a Johnny. And even looking at the energy deck, you really can't expect to counter everything that they play. Almost every threat in their 60 is a 2 for 1. So it's really unrealistic. Psychic Frog. Similar to Nethergoyf, it's our primary beatdown plan, and it gains value by being on the board, stonewalling threats, or being a threat itself. It's similar to Ragavan that it can run away with the game since it draws a card each time it hits. Orcish Bowmasters is like a flexible threat that doubles down as a removal spell, and that's why it's a 4 off here. You must use this as a counter to opposing Bowmasters, Ragavan, or Pride. And it's also a good flash threat for the blue matchups. I think I've covered everything here, but I do have a list that I've been testing out. This is basically Grixis Shadow. So what this deck does is aim to finish games faster than they can recover. So your main plan is trying to Thoughtseize the relevant threats, laying down big threat, attacking them down, then maybe use Lightning Bolt as reach, which doubles as removal. But mainly you're playing this because of the cheese aspect of getting to Teamer Battle Rage, the Death Shadow, or even Frog. And I'm currently 5-5 with this on the ladder, so I guess playing Shadow is still bad. Also, Lightning Bolt has felt underwhelming so far. Teamer Battle Rage has felt fun, but that's it. It's fun. However, this Flame Sweep has felt great. Being able to sweep energy decks on their end step and then deploying a lot of threats on of your own is huge. Especially there are spots where you have an opposing a Johnny flip and you have, let's say, a frog or another Goyf down, and it's being chomped by a lot of 1/1s, you can then use Flame Sweep at the end of their end step, clear the way for the Goyf or Psychic Frog to get to the Ajani, or even win on the spot. You can sweep the board and then win on the spot in the right board states. But I can't really recommend this list. Shadow is still bad or has felt bad. There's still a lot of swords to plowshares, solitudes running around. Yeah, I think that's it, and I'll see you in the next one.